Across the causeway, Malaysian Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin says he is still the country's legitimate leader and that his Perikatan Nasional government remains firmly in control. This as he responded to claims by opposition Anwar Ibrahim, who said he had a strong, formidable, convincing majority of MPs to form a new government and that the government of Mr. Muhyiddin had collapsed.
Calling on Malaysians to remain calm, Mr. Muhyiddin went on to challenge Mr. Anwar to prove his assertion. In a separate statement, the coalitions and parties that back the PN administration said the government has remained intact and rejected the claim that some lawmakers had jumped to support Mr. Anwar.
He went on to state that Mr. Anwar's claims are, quote, no more than a repeat of cheap publicity that has been carried out many times before.
What does this mean for Malaysia? Joining us to discuss more is Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teo. Hello Shannon. Now Mr. Anwar seems quite confident in making this bold claim. Does he really have the support that he claims to have?
Well, if you're a follower of Malaysian politics, we've been here before. Anwar is a very charismatic politician, so he sounds very convincing every time he makes these claims. But he's done that before. In 2008, he said he would get 30 people to defect from Barisan Nasional to form government. In 2013, he said he had won the elections. And also recently in February this year, he said he had the majority. And all three times, that didn't turn out to be the case, or he would claim to have been foiled. So most observers are taking this new claim with a pinch of salt. But I'll tell you that it's a bit different now because government has a very slim majority. Prime Minister Muhyiddin's majority in parliament can be undone if he loses 2 MPs. Now that's a lot closer than it's ever been. So people are taking this threat, this warning, a bit more seriously than before. But Anwar has a history of making this proclamation but then not following through.
Right, let's talk about the other party. Now, the last time you were on, we spoke about how Muhyiddin Yassin's Perikatan Nasional proved a majority in parliament, although it was a razor-thin margin of only 2 votes. Has the support for his administration changed since, Shannon?
It feels like a very long time since I've been here, so I'm not sure what I actually said then. But the support level hasn't changed. It's still 113 to 109. Now, if it could have changed, right, in the interim period. Anwar is claiming that it has. That's what his press conference on Wednesday was all about, that there are people who have left Tan Sri Muhyiddin's Perikatan Nasional government. But on paper, that hasn't happened. And on our checks with various politicians, MPs, party leaders, no one seems to be able to ascertain where Anwar has gotten these MPs from. There is a suggestion that a section of UMNO might have been amenable to Anwar becoming Prime Minister. If you looked at UMNO President Zahid Hamidi's statement yesterday, he seems to indicate that many MPs in UMNO are of the opinion that they should support Anwar. But again, we don't know who these people are. No one has actually come forward with a list of names of who these MPs are. Does it include Zahid himself? Nobody knows.
Now, the Sabah election is, of course, taking place this weekend. You've written that the state election does not directly affect which coalition forms Malaysia's federal government, but it is a bellwether of where voter loyalties lie. Could you elaborate on this in the light of a possibility of a snap election being called for Malaysia? Well,
a couple of things. Sabah is home to 25 parliamentary seats, 26 if you count the federal territory of Labuan. So that's more than 10% of parliament. Now, that's pretty significant if you take it as a sample size. If you are going to win Sabah, that's going to give you quite a good head start in terms of getting to the magic 112, which gives you a majority of parliament. The other thing is that the issues in Sabah are a real test for what's been happening in Malaysia. You know, the whole world's been going through this COVID problem, how it's affected the economy, public health, you know, and there is a big question here about whether the government has handled it well. The economy, bread and butter issues, you know, that's at the top of the agenda for Sabah, just like it would be anywhere else in Malaysia. So that really kind of indicates if they feel the Muhyiddin administration has performed well in the 6 months that it's been in power. Now, if they call a snap election quickly after this, you would say that the economic conditions are quite similar everywhere else in Malaysia. If Muhyiddin is going to wait maybe another 6 months or a year down the road, then maybe Sabah doesn't tell us so much. So if there is a snap election, the results of Sabah could indicate quite strongly kind of the mood. But again, we should not read too much into this. Sabah politics is a bit different from how it is in Peninsular Malaysia. Now, Peninsular Malaysia is home to 165 seats, and that largely decides who is going to be in federal government. Sabah has certain elements of state nationalism. They believe that the federal government hasn't treated them right, hasn't given them enough infrastructure, has ignored their security concerns. We know in 2013 there was an invasion, which many feel was bungled by the government back then. So it matters, but it doesn't matter too much. If you lose the Sabah elections, it doesn't mean that you will necessarily lose the national elections, but it does give you a good hint as to how the sentiment lies.
All right. Well, thank you, Shannon, so much for taking the time to speak with us. Always a pleasure to have you on. We've been speaking to Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teo.